evening, Aquaba Nigerians, wherever you're listening to us from. Welcome to Sports Beat Niger in 30 minutes. Yes, this is the Wednesday edition of the show right here on Raypower 100.5 FM. And I am your Wednesday host, as always. Brenda is my name. And it's good to be here this afternoon or this evening if you're listening to us wherever you're listening to us from, depending on your time frame. It's good to be here in the studio live and direct. So many to look forward to, so many to discuss this evening. And I must say, top on the list, of course, is what is trending now, the biggest story in the world of football, as long as African football is concerned. And this show, as we all know, is where we get to discuss everything African, everything Nigerian. This time around, our focus will be on Africa. But before we get into the details, talking about, of course, you already know what I mean, but let me give you a heads up, talking about the CAF decision on retrieving or stripping Senegal of the title and giving to Morocco after 2 months of deliberations and, should I say, submissions and appeals from the Moroccan Federation. The CAF has come out yesterday to make the decision, saying, indeed, the Moroccan Federation were right with their request, or should I say, their appeal, and they have been looked into, and now we have Morocco as champions of Africa. But the question now remains, what is the implication of this on African football? That is what we'll be getting into this evening. But before I get my guests who will give us more light into all of that, let me quickly tell you that Nigeria's the Tigress, that's the most decorated basketball team, national team in the country, if at all. Even in Africa now at this point. Yes, are back from done and dusted with the FIBA Women's World Cup qualifier, what took place in France, and they finished as fourth overall best team in that competition after winning 2 games and losing 3. They played 5 games in the qualifying round, but this qualifying round did not have any effect on the Nigeria's hopes of the World Cup coming up in Germany, because they had already qualified by means of becoming the AfroBasket champions, which they won in Cordoba last year, 2025. So they just went into this tournament for, just prepare themselves for the big, tournaments coming up in September. I beg your pardon. So, it's done and dusted for the Tigers. They are back home. But the high point of this qualifiers, it was the fact that they were given their promise when they won the WAFCON. I said the WAFCON now. When they won the AfroBasket championship for the 5th consecutive time, the federal government promised them $100,000 each, plots of lands in the Federal Capital Territory, and all that was given to them right there in Lyon, in France, the 2 days ago before the final game yesterday. And now the other high point from that event was the fact that Sarah Ogoke, one of the most now decorated team player in the Tigress, has hung the boots. She said, okay, I'm done with this. I'm done and dusted for good. But she's hanging the boots on the high because she's been 5-time champions of the Tigress. 5-time champion of the AfroBasket, and now she's leaving the team to pursue other careers. Sarah Ogoke is a surgeon, a doctor in the United States, so we all know where she's going back to do. But again, she will not be featuring for Nigeria as long as the Tigress is concerned when it comes to basketball. Sad one there for the Tigress, but they have got talent in the house. Talking about Amy Okonkwo, Ezine Kalu, and the likes. They will also be going into the World Cup to make Nigeria proud. Good luck, and wish all the best of luck to the Tigers. But now back to the matter that matters. Talking about the football matter. Yes, I told you earlier on the show that indeed the most talked about event right now in the world of football is the CAF decision, and the breaking news that came to the shock of so many yesterday by CAF, saying Morocco are now champions of Africa 2 months after the AFCON was done and dusted. What this means, we'll get into all of that. And I have joining me no other person but someone who I think is the best place to tell us exactly what this whole situation means, implication on African football and the implication on global football generally. So I have joining me right now Pius, a sports lawyer from the United States, joining me right from Ohio, United States. Pius, good evening and welcome to Sports Beat on Raypower.
Yeah, thank you very much, Brenda. Good morning from here.
Oh, good morning from there. You see, you good morning when already we're always trying to round up the day. But yeah, thank you so much. I'm sorry to wake you up this early from the United States, joining us on the show this evening here in Nigeria. But Pius, quickly, we know the news has been making rounds on the social media space. We've seen it, CAF drop the bombshell on the world of football yesterday that Morocco has been crowned champions after a lot of deliberations according to them, and a lot of consultations. They've brought out a decision that indeed due to what happened at the final, which we all saw, Senegal. Yeah, I can hear you now.
Okay, you can hear me?
Yes, loud and clear.
Hello.
Yes, I can hear you now. Go on.
Okay. I said my opinion. It's not so relevant, but I think I will just opine or just state what I feel the law provides for. I think I've kept saying this since yesterday. What will be very important going forward in CAS is the principle of legal distinguishing. The case at hand has to be distinguished with every other decision that has been made with regards to forfeiture of a match as a result of a team walking off the pitch. We've never had an instance where a team walked off the pitch and then came back, play resumed, and there was a final match, and then an appeal was lodged. So if you look at multiple plethora of decisions of CAS, we've had it in Africa before, with that Casablanca versus Esperance Tunis, Albania versus UEFA and Serbia, Kosovo versus Romania, and so on and so forth. These all they have similar facts, but there's a very important distinguishing element, which is the fact that in all of these other matches, the players never came back to the field of play. But in this particular case, the players came back to the field of play. The match went to extra time, and then Senegal won, and there was a final result. So I think people are looking at the CAF based their decision on Article 82 and 84.
Exactly.
But if you look at critically at Article 82 of the CAF disciplinary code, it says when they leave the field of play. So I think the law is made for man, not man for the law. So if they are if when read in conjunction or with various CAF decisions, it's not automatic. It's not automatic. If you leave the field of play, it's not automatic that immediately you leave the field of play, the result is the match is forfeited. No, they look at did the referee give a direct and unconditional order to the players to return to the field of play, and if he did and they did not return, I think the match would not have proceeded in what they call it in
extra
Rabat.
time.
Is it Rabat?
Yeah.
Was it Rabat?
Yes.
Yeah. So I think this is a very important and a distinguishing element. I think I am hopeful CAF will upturn this decision, because if this is not upturned, this will be a global damage to football, not just African football. Because remember, whatever CAF rules, it's not just binding in Africa. It applies to everywhere that the game of football is being played.
All right. So now judging from what you're saying that with the appeal that Senegal has filed now to CAS, to take CAF to CAS, are you saying that Senegal stand a chance?
We are not sure. We are not sure they have taken the case to CAS, because they have to get the grounds of the decision from the.
Okay, they have actually filed an appeal. They have filed an appeal now to overturn the decision. But do you think if this pulls through with the indices on ground, do you think Senegal stand a chance to overturn this decision by CAF and perhaps retain their title as African champions?
Of course. Remember what I said. They were very hard the discretion under Article 82 to either to have ended the match or to have allowed the match to continue, and then he allowed the match to continue. So you cannot question his discretion. The referee manages how the game is played, the conduct of the players, the rhythm of the game, and he exercised discretion in the affirmative, and the game continued. So this decision, I'm hopeful it will be upturned in CAS. Remember, if you read the decision of Wydad and Esperance Tunis, the match was halted in the 59th minute, and the panel said that the referee waited for close to 40 minutes, 90 plus, before he ended the match, because players refused to come back to the pitch. But in this case, the players merely or temporarily left the pitch for 14-15 minutes.
Yeah.
And man even stayed back.
Not all of them, yes. Not everybody.
Not all of them walked up somewhere on the sidelines.
Yes. So that if for instance, we pray this doesn't happen, like you said, it's going to dent African football. But if this happens, what is the implication going forward for African football, for football in general? What is the implication if actually this decision by CAF stands at the end of the day?
Well, I think football will be brought to ridicule. That is the truth. Where the game is played on the pitch and the results are decided in the boardroom and administrative bodies and appeal tribunals and so on, I think the game will be brought to ridicule. Now, don't take this away. There have been instances where a game has been declared forfeiting, where a game has been forfeited before, but those instances are very clear. Like when you feed an eligible player, the case of South Africa and what do you call it? South Africa and
Benin Republic.
In Benin Republic. Yeah, these cases are very clear. Once you feed an ineligible player, remember the referee decision is not been upturned. They're just saying that, yeah, this is the law. This player ought not to have played, so this is what the law says. So for this instance, the referee allowed the game to continue. So this would be a catastrophe for global football. It's a catastrophe to open the leeway that nobody wants to go where someone is playing on the pitch and another team is waiting for administrative review of the referee's decision. I think this will also undermine the principle of the integrity of the game. So, yeah, as you said, if it's not upturned, it will be disastrous. But we are hopeful it will be upturned.
All right, finally, before I let you go, umpires, quickly, you rightly pointed out that these laws are in place now. So why are the referees not be? Why didn't CAF not look at it before coming out to make that decision? This law were already in place because you, as a lawyer, you already know this law. So why do you think CAF omitted this particular Article 83 that you pointed out that has 15 minutes? Like you rightly quoted.
No. What I'm saying, Article 83 does not apply to this particular case. Article 83 applies to players not showing up on the field of play 15 minutes after kickoff. That does not apply to women.
Yes, so I'm saying that exactly like you rightly quoted. If these laws were on ground,
I think this is a loophole, which I think, remember that it is referee's discretion. So, but I believe that with this case, that section might be reviewed to provide for a time frame where if players are ordered to come out to the pitch by the referee and they don't come back, he can end the match. But remember that as it stands now, the referee has the discretion whether to end if you walk out of the pitch after 5 minutes. Because walking out on the referee side, I think it's tantamount to if it's a punishable offense. So if you walking off the pitch, the referee has the power to say, if I give you 5 minutes and you don't come back, I will end the match. So I think CAF can now put a benchmark and say, okay, let us adopt what we have in section 83 to apply in section 82. So when you refuse to resume play or walk out of the pitch, if after so minutes you don't come back, you would be the match will be declared forfeit. But walking out on its own should already have its own sanctions. But in addition to those sanctions, the match will be declared the forfeit. So I think a time frame needs to be stipulated. So this would not be here.
So this match would have actually ended on that day, not today. Should have ended at last. Immediately they came back on the pitch, and perhaps the referee would have said, "Okay, you know what? You came back late, and this is it, and we're done with the game." You walked out of the pitch.
As they walked out before they even came back to the pitch, the referee would have ended the game.
Exactly. So why are we here? That's the question everybody's asking. But like you rightly pointed out, we are hoping that CAF, do the right thing. Perhaps look into these articles more and now see that the loopholes that they try to explore is not actually, a loophole. It's actually something that is going to dent the image of football in Africa. But thank you so much, Pius, for joining us right here on Raypower. We do appreciate your time, and please enjoy your money in the United States.
Yeah, thank you. But have a good day too.
All right. Well, like you heard the sports lawyer there, I mean, it's quite a dicey one for Nigeria. I beg your pardon, for Africa now, not just Nigeria and Africa, but the world is watching. I mean, all the way from the United States, people are watching. It's been the talk of the town all night, all day. I mean, what will CAF do? Why has CAF come to this decision? Did they look through the articles properly? Like you rightly heard the lawyer, Article 83 does not apply in this instance because the players did not refuse to come back to the pitch. They did come back to the pitch, and the game continued, even went into extra time, which we all saw, and they won the game. The penalty that was awarded that caused the chaos was played and was missed. So this situation, but again, we are watching, we're waiting, anticipating, and hearing what CAF will say, because now we know Senegal has actually filed or appealed to take the case to court, to the CAS, that's the Court of Arbitration for Sports, and hopefully if they get approval, we'll be hearing more from the situation as it unfolds. But like you rightly hear Pius say, if this stands, it will dent the image of football, not just in Africa, but globally. We hope that the right thing is done, and the spirit, or should I say now, the whole idea, the unity that football brings, is sustained and is maintained. But that is the current situation, and we'll keep following the situation as it unfolds, and we're bringing you updates right here on Raypower, because it is quite trending. It's very rare to have happened, but it's happening right now in Africa, and it's Morocco against the world as it stands, or Morocco against Senegal as it stands. So the battle line is drawn. We'll see what happens, what CAF will come up to do, or FIFA maybe may step in to say something, one or two, as regards to the situation. But all that, we're bringing you updates as it unfolds. Before we wrap up the show this evening, quickly, let's tell you that Nigeria's Super Eagles, yes, will be assembling once again for the international friendlies against Iran and Jordan. One will be asking, Iran, Well, the friendlies were scheduled long ago before the crisis began in Iran. So, well, the Super Eagles are scheduled to play a friendlies against Iran and Jordan. And Coach Eric Chell has released a 23-man list that will be featured in that friendly if the friendly does take place, because the last time we checked, Argentina was supposed to play a game against Spain in Qatar and it was cancelled due to crisis in the Middle East. And this time around, Nigerian national team will be playing friendlies, are scheduled to play friendlies against teams that are supposed to be in the Middle East. Will they be turning up for it? We will find out in the coming days. But the list is out, and these are some of the players that will be making it to the list. Of course, we have Wilfred Ndidi, Alex Iwobi, forward at Demola Lukman, and also made a 23-man list. And then also we have goalkeeper Maduka Okoye. Maduka Okoye, as we all know, kind of had a situation last time when Eric Chell called him for players for the AFCON, and he was saying, he needs to be given the assurance that he is going to play the number one position, but that didn't happen. That was the rumor we had, so that he was not called up. But now there's no Stanley Wabali in the picture. Maduka Okoye is coming in there. Francis Zoho, Adele Adebayo also for goalkeeping department. In the defending line, there's Calvin Bassi, there's Samia Ajayi, there's Bright Osai Samuel, and also Bruno Onyemachi, Zaidu Sanusi, Igor Ogbu, and Emmanuel Fernandez, all coming into for the defense line for Eric Chell against Iran and Jordan. And the midfielders, Alex Iwobi, Frank Onyeka, Wilfred Ndidi, captain, Raphael Onyedika, Fisayo Dele Bashiru. And in the forward line, there's Ademola Lukman, Samuel Chukwueze, Simon Moses, Chidera Ejuke, Paul Onachu, and Akko Adams, Philip Otella, and Collins Yara Saw. Some new names they added, and shockingly to the names of everybody, to the shop of everybody, Victor Osimhen, the star boy, is not there. But one would say these are just friendlies. No, don't make meaning out of it. Maybe perhaps coach feels he needs to test other legs to assist Victor Osimhen for competitive football when he gets underway. The qualifiers are also not far off. That's the AFCON 2026 qualifiers. We start off soon. So I mean, it's just be right to say, okay, you know what? Let me test other legs so that when that time happens or when that time comes, we can begin to look at possible names that will replace or play alongside Victor Osimhen for good results. But these are the 23-man list that has been called in by Eric Chell for the friendlies against Iran and Jordan. But this friendlies now is questionable because we do not know if it's going to happen. Looking at what is happening in the Middle East, however, we'll wait and see what the NFF will come up to say in a couple of days, and if indeed these teams are going to show up to play against the Super Eagles and prepare them for these teams are actually due to go to the World Cup, but the Super Eagles are not in the World Cup, so they are using us to prepare for the World Cup. Is that terrible? But we'll take it like that. So I mean, but they're using us to prepare for the World Cup, and it's a good one for the Super Eagles and Eric Chell to test new players and prepare them for better competitions. But yes, that's about it on the show this evening. But quickly before I go, let's do a recap where I told you about the Tigers being done and dusted with their FIBA Women's AfroBasket qualifiers that took place in France, Lyon, France, and they finished as 4th overall best team in that competition, winning 2 games and losing 3. They lost to Germany, they lost to South Korea, and they lost to France, the host nation, for the qualifiers. And they won 2 games, and they're right there in that competition. But again, it didn't dent their image because they qualified as way of being champions of the AfroBasket, which they won 5 times in a row. The last time they won it in October 2025 in Cote d'Ivoire, and they were crowned 5-time champions of the AfroBasket competition. So they have qualified based on that grounds, and going into the AfroBasket qualification, they were just going in as playoffs for the FIBA Women's Basket qualification. So Nigeria's the Tigers will be in Germany for the World Cup. Yes, they'll be in Germany for the World Cup. That's the FIBA Women's World Cup coming up in Germany. Yes, and then the highlights of the event, of course, the reward that was given to them by the federal government as promised when they won the AfroBasket Championship. Yes, the $100,000 each that we all had and made fun of, and also the plus of land that was given to them all in Lyon there as an appreciation for their work so far for the country when it comes to basketball in Nigeria. And then for high point for most of us was, of course, the retirement announcement by Sarah Ogoke, most decorated female basketball player in the country, 5-time champion of AfroBasket, it, and she finally says, I'm done and dusted. I'm done with basketball. It's dusted with basketball. I'm going back to professional life. And Sarah Ogoke is a doctor, medical surgeon. She'll be going back to practice perhaps more medicine, and maybe someday we get to see her as a coach of the Tigress, just like we have Rena Walkama. But yeah, also we talked on the CAF verdict or CAF decision against Senegal, and of course Senegal's appeal for that decision. Hopefully you heard the lawyer who said that we're going to see what happens in the coming days, because Senegal's appealed for that decision, and hopefully it will be overturned, because it will be a dent on African football and on global football. So fingers crossed that situation, because it is still unfolding. I'll bring you details as to how it unfolds. But yeah, that's the package this evening on Sports Beats Niger in 30 minutes, right here on Raypower 100.5 FM. Thank you for being a part of it, and see you next week for the same edition of the show. My name remains Brenda, saying bye for now.
Providing 360 degrees of information and entertainment. Reloaded for today's Niger.
Raypower.